Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? Right, what we're doing today is something special. What we're going to do is we're going to try and build the game Tic-Tac-Toe in Blazor WebAssembly in an hour. Now we're going to be against the clock. Now, in case you don't know, Tic-Tac-Toe is a game where you have a 3x3 grid. You have two players. One of the players is the O mark and the other player is the X mark. And the whole aim is to get 3 in a row to become the winner of the game. You can either win horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Now we're going to try and do this in an hour, and I've already built a Blazor WebAssembly application, so I've already created one. What we're going to do is we're going to build up the components as the hour goes on, and we'll have a timer at the bottom of the screen. So we're just going to check that our Blazor WebAssembly application is running before we get going. Let's give that a go. So let's just refresh the page. There we go, we see. So our Blazor app assembly that we've created is running for us, so we can get going in a few moments. Just to let you know, I've got rid of all the sort of default stuff, all the stuff that comes with a default Blazor WebAssembly application, like the weather forecast and all that. So we're almost starting with a blank canvas. Okay. So we're going to have a timer on screen, and I'm just going to get that started for us, and then we will be going. Feel free to leave any messages on the live chat, or if you're watching this recorded, leave a message and I can get back to you. I can't promise it will be, if you're doing it during the live stream, I can't promise it's going to be as I'm doing it, because we're against the clock here. We want to get this application working, because the main aim of this is to actually get a working application where we can actually play the game and, all being well, actually use it. One other thing as well is that the code example will be available shortly after the live stream. You'll be able to view it at roundthecode.com/code-examples. Okay, so we're just about to get going, so I'm just going to set up the timer now. Then once that's on the screen, we'll get going. So we're probably going to start off creating some models, and then I think after that we'll create some razor components. And I'll talk you through what bits I'm actually doing as we go through the application and actually go ahead building it up. So we're just about to get going. And we're off. So the hour has started, so let's get going. So as I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build up some models. So we're going to create a new folder, call it models. So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new enum. And this is going to represent the X and the O for each player. So we're going to call it mark enum. And we're going to change that to enum. And we're going to have the O as 0 and the X as 1. Like that. I'm going to create a new model now as well. So for this one, we're going to call it a square. So this is going to represent each of the 9 squares in the actual game. Okay, so within this, we're going to have a number. Each number is going to be numbered from 1 to 9. So we've got a unique numbered square. And we're also going to mark whether a player's actually put their mark down for it. So when we create the constructor, we're going to pass in the number square, and we're going to set the property. Like that. So that's that, and I think the next model we're going to create is the game model. So this is going to store a list of all these square instances. I'm going to call it game. And within that, what we're going to do is we're going to have the list of squares. So when we initialize it, we want to create a new instance of the squares property that we've just created. Like that. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create 9 of these squares because it's a 3x3 grid. So we're going to create a separate method and we're going to call it reset game. So not only will that reset game be called when we initialize the game, but also it will be called when we want to reset it and we want to play again. So within that, we're going to go ahead and create 9 of them. And we're just going to call our squares property and create a new instance of square, passing in the number. Okay, let's just make sure that builds. Let's go ahead and do that. Right, now that we've built up our models, what we're going to do is we're going to build up the razor components in Blazor WebAssembly. We're just going to let that build. Yep, that's all working fine. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new razor component. We're going to call it square component. Okay, so this is going to represent each mark as well. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pass in an instance of our square. So what we need to do is we need to find out which namespace it's in. So it's in roundthecode.tic-tac-toe.models. We pass that in. I'm going to call the property square, and we need to mark it as a parameter. So what we're going to do is we're going to build up a game component later on in the stream, and we'll basically pass in each square that we've built up in our model. So now we're going to write out some HTML. And what we're going to do here is we're going to give it a class of square because we're going to have to put some CSS later on. We make sure there's actually an instance of square. And then if there is, what we're going to do is we're going to do another if statement here. So we're going to make sure that the mark has actually got a value. So we actually, if the actual square has been used, if a player's put their mark down, it actually shows what mark has actually been put down. So for that, we will use spam statement square.mark.value. Okay, so let's just give that another build and just make sure that's still working for us. I do find with Blazor WebAssembly that debug seems to be non-existent at the moment. So it can be a little bit difficult to debug. I don't know whether that's something wrong with my Visual Studio or whether they haven't implemented it yet. If you know, just give us a message because I'd like to know if you could actually debug a Blazor WebAssembly application. Anyways, let's go ahead now and create our game component. I'm going to create a new razor component again. And we've got a game component. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to create our game, an instance of game, so our game model that we set up. We bring in the namespace. It seems to be picking, no, it's not picking it up. I didn't think it was. We've got that there, and we're going to initialize this when the actual game component is initialized. So the way you can do that is you pass in the onInitialized async. And in here, we're just going to create that new instance of game. So that's going to create our squares for us. So if we go back into the model, see when we initialize it, we create our instance of squares. We also need to call that reset game as well. So we actually populate the squares because we forgot to do that. So that will ensure that when we initialize it, it will populate our squares property with 9 squares. So let's go back to our game component. So in this, we need to do a null if statement. And assuming that it's been initialized, what we can do, so what we need to do here is we need to do 2 for loops, I believe, because we've got 3 along the top and then 3 going vertically. So we need to have a 3 by 3 grid. So the way we can do that, do a for loop there, and we do another for loop underneath it. So within that, we need to get our square model from our game instance. So this involves a little bit of calculation. What I think we need to do is we need to do dt minus 1 plus dv. I'm hoping that's right. Put it in a bracket. No, actually, I think, is that right? Let's have a look. So we've got dt is 2. We want that to be 4. So is it times by 3? I think it might be times by 3. That will be 1 times, or tt minus 1 times by 3. So that would give us, so that tt times 3 minus 1 would be 0, then 1, 2, 3, tt minus 1. So if it's 2, it's 1 times 3 equals 3. We'll go with that anyways, see how we get on with that. And then we have to minus it again by 1 to get the index number rather than the actual whole number. All being well, that should bring up the square. We'll soon find out when we try to run it. If we go ahead, we're passing our square component, and all being well, we should be able to pass in an instance of square. So because we've marked that as a parameter, we can now pass that in as an instance when we're passing it in on our other razor component. Okay, so let's just let that run and just see. I don't expect to see anything on the screen at the moment because we haven't done any CSS styling and we're not actually populating the actual player marks, but I just want to make sure it's going to be running for us. Probably still going to come up with test actually because we haven't actually done, still got our test index here which we need to get rid of. So we'll get rid of, what we'll do is we'll pass the root from there onto the game component. We'll then get rid of the index.razor because we don't actually need that. Give that another run. But all being well, it should at least load something. Oh yeah, I mean, it's not loading anything, but the good thing about that is it's not throwing any errors. So that's good. So what I think we'll do now is I think we will actually just put some CSS onto the square. So the nice thing about .NET 5 Blazor is they implemented CSS within a particular razor component. So in order to do that, what we need to do is, can we actually create a CSS file in here anyway? Yeah, we can create a style sheet. So the naming convention for that has to be square component.razor.css. It's basically the name of your razor component.css on the end. I believe this was something they implemented as part of .NET 5. In fact, I know they did because I was actually watching the video when they launched it. So yeah, this is a .NET 5 feature. So we've created our square class up there. Just going to go ahead and make that a little bit prettier. So we're going to have the width of 33%. Do it as a float left as well. We want to put a border around it. We'll go with a black border. What I want to do now on the game component is do exactly the same thing. Just put some CSS on there. So we can go ahead and create a new CSS file. Once again, a new style sheet. So once again, staying with the same naming convention. Game component.razor.css. Go back in here. I'm going to wrap this around a div. Class of game. How are we doing for time? We've still got 45 minutes, so we're doing okay for time at the moment. Just going to restrict the width on here. Do about 800 pixels and centralize it so you can do margin left auto and margin right auto. Give that another run. All being well now, we should actually see something on our screen. We should see some black squares. Okay, so that's now running for us. No, it's still not working. Why is that not working? Have a look, see what's going on. So we've created a new instance of game there. Run that again. It could be as well that it's cached the actual, it's still got the actual application in there. So it's always worth just giving it another run and just see what happens. Get that to run. Just see what happens. Okay, no, it's still not working at the moment, but I think we'll come back to that. We'll go ahead and just go ahead and build up some of the other bits, and we can come back to that and just see why that's not working, because that should be working. It's a little bit strange that it's not. But anyways, let's continue with this, get it working. Come back to that. So what we want to do next is we want to do an on click. So when a person on clicks, regardless of whether it's their turn or not, we want to mark it as whether they've marked an X or an O onto the square. What we need to do first is we need to go back into our models, and we need to set a mark, so we need to find out whose turn it is next. So by default, we're going to set it so the O's get the first turn. So if we go back now into our going now, yes, this is where we want to be. So in here we need to create an on-click. And down here what we're going to do, yes, so we're going to create a public void down here. So this is going to be the event handler for the on-click. Mouse event argument. Before we do that, we also need to create another parameter. And for this is going to be a delegate. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to call this delegate from the game Blazor component. And then in here, all we're simply going to do, we're going to do a null check on it. And assuming it's fine, we're going to invoke it, the mouse event argument, like so. Last thing we need to do is, so we've created this on-click up here. We just need to tell it which method it's going to run, and it's going to run the click like so. Now let's just go back into our game component. So what we can do in here now is we've set a parameter of click parameter. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass in that square into it, and then we can handle it within the game component once it's been initialized. So in order to do that, we're going to create a new method of square click. Going to pass in the mouse event argument, and as well as that, it's going to pass in our instance of square. Like that. And quite simply in here, we can pass in, not quite right there, what it needs to be is, so if we do E, so that's our event argument, so that if we go back into the square component, you can see that's our mouse event argument there in our delegate. All being well, that should work for us. Is that with itself? There we go. So what we've set up on this is that when this is on clicked, it will go through to this method here. It will execute this delegate here. When we go back here, we're executing our delegate there, which is pointing to the square click. So it's all going to be run from this method here. So we've got the instance of square there. So we've got our game instance as well, so we can mark which, well, we're going to put which mark has actually been put down. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to put it on next turn, so whoever's next turn it was. And then we're going to reset the next turn here. Now I just want to make sure that's running, and I also want to go back to see why we're not actually getting any text on the screen, whether it's a CSS issue or whether there's something wrong with the routing. So let's just go ahead and rerun that again. Open up our web browser. Go to localhost 4000. So let's see what happens. We should see that text come up. If the text doesn't come up, then there's probably an instance with the actual component. Oh, there we go. There we go. So it's actually working now. So I think it must have been some sort of cache issue, which is a little bit strange, but anyways. So we can get rid of the text. How are we doing for time? We've got 37 minutes. So what we need to do in the CSS is we need to specify a height on this. That's why all the boxes seem to be together. We need to specify a height of 100 pixels. I think that would be suitable. So now that we've got that, we're marking our square there. What we need to do is we need to create a new method in our game model, which we're going to call next turn. No, we've already got a next turn. So we can call it something like next. We'll just call it next, I think. And quite simply with that, say if next turn the mark of O, set it to X. Otherwise, we set it to O. So we use the mark enum like that, and then we can just call that method. So if we go back into our game component, and we're just going to call next. And all being well, that should be working for us. So let's just give that another run. I'm going to see. And thanks very much for the live message there from Tim X Peachtree. The best option in Blazor yet. I have yet to try Invoke. You should give it a go. I still think it's a little bit ahead of its time. I think people are not quite used to the whole single page application yet, certainly on a website, but I think in the future it's definitely going to be a big player. The benefit of it is that you can actually code client-side functionality in C#. So there you go, we've got our grid here. Let's just see. So yeah, you can see our marks are going down. We're going to make that font a little bit bigger as well. But you know, you can see we've got the functionality working there. We've got the fundamentals there. But let's go ahead and just make that font a little bit bigger. Actually stands out a bit more. So what we're going to do with that is just set the font size to, let's say, 40 pixels. And we can go ahead and centralize it as well. So we've got 34 minutes left even. So what we need to do now is we need to sort of come up with a winner. So in order to do that, we need to come up with some winning combinations. So what we've done with this, we've got a 3x3 grid. Each square has a unique number. Now, as I said at the beginning of the stream, you can win horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. So there's 8 different combinations where you can actually win on this game. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new, in fact, no, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new class within inside the model folder. I'm going to go up here, create a new class. I'm going to call it winning combination. So as I say, you've got to get 3 in a row. So we're going to have 3 properties of integer on here. Square 1, square 2, and square 3. Now we don't want to be setting these once they've been initialized. So we're going to set these when we call the constructor. So we've got square 1, square 2, and square 3. Could just go ahead and copy and paste this. It'd be a lot easier rather than typing it all out. So now what we need to do in our model, so if we go back to our game model, we're going to actually create a new instance. We're going to put all those winning combinations into a list of the winning combination class. We can do a public list of winning combination. Call it winning combinations. We can create a new list combination like that, not like that. Like that. And then within that, we can create a new winning combination. So the first one is across the top, so across the top horizontally. Then across the middle horizontally, so that's 4, 5, and 6. And across the bottom horizontally, so 7, 8, and 9. After that, we can do it vertically as well. So across the left-hand side, across the middle, and across the right-hand side. So that's 3, 6, and 9. And there's 2 more ways you can actually win in this game. You can do it diagonally. You can either do it from top left to bottom right, or top right to bottom left. So from top right, it's 1, 5, and 9. And from the other way, it's 3, 5, and 7, I believe. Yes. Rid of that. So we've got our winning combinations there. So what I think we need to do in this next is we need to check every time to see if there's actually a winner or not. So what we can do with that is, let's have a think. So we need to check before we mark the next turn. We also need to potentially declare a winner as well. So we're going to create that property. Control+D to duplicate the line below. Thanks very much for that. I'm not very good with my shortcuts, I must admit. I do tend to do it the hard way. So now what we need to do is we need to go through the winning combinations. So what we're going to do is we're going to list through each one. So we can do a for each. Our winning combination So what we're going to do is, so if winning combination square 1, so that will be the actual, that will be the number, won't it? So we need to call our squares property and put it as an index. That's, so we're going to say if it's, as you can see here, we're going to check each one to see if it's actually so what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the squares and make sure that it matches the same mark like that. So we're going to do it for square 1, do it for square 2, and also do it for square 3. At this point, we assume that all 3 have been marked as an O, so we're going to declare the winner to O. And we're just going to do the same for X as well. There might be a cleaner way of doing this, but we are against the clock. We've only got 25 minutes left. So if a winner has been declared, we then need to reset the game. So we reset the game, and we're going to mark the next turn as the person who actually won. Otherwise, we're going to do this next turn here. One thing we need to do as well on this next is we just need to make sure that the winner is set to null all the time. Okay, so let's give that a run, and then we're going to actually display it on the actual screen. Yes, an array is another option as well. That's a good point. A couple of options there. So let's go ahead and put that message in on the screen. So how are we going to do this? So if we say if a winner has been declared, we're just going to mark the fact. We're just going to say that the winner of the game is either O or X, depending on the value of the winner property, has won the game. So let's give that another run. Let's see if our winner method is actually going to work for us or not. Give that a refresh. Okay, so you can see the text is a bit bigger now, which is good. Need to try and, we should have a winner there, but I don't think that's quite working by the looks of it. It's sort of half working. It seems to know that the winner is O, but it looks like we can still click on it. So one way I think we can do that, so if we come out of that, if we go into square click, I think we can do an on state change or something like that. I remember what it is. State has changed, that's the one. That should hopefully refresh the Blazor component. It should do that automatically. That might not be the issue, but we'll find out. What we want to do as well is on the on click, we want to say we only want this to actually happen if there's not a winner. I think that's what was happening, is that we declared the winner, but we could still actually click on the square. So we can do that. What we will do in a bit, if we've got time, is we'll try and reset the game as well. And we want to also put a scoreboard in. We've got 22 minutes left, so hopefully we can get a scoreboard in, but we might be a little bit pushed for time. But let's see what happens. So let's open up our browser again. That should be running for us. It's a localhost 4000. Well, so yeah, that's now loading for us. There we go, you see. So we needed to include that state has changed for it to actually display the title. But as you can see now, we can't click on there. So that's good. So we've actually got a working game now, which is very good. What we want to do now then is, if we go ahead, we want to actually have the ability to reset the game. So do we need to do anything in the game model that we got next? So I think we're calling that reset game slightly early, but we'll find out. I don't think we want to call it there. I think what we need to do is we take that out of there, and we're just going to call a, do we want to call the reset game, I wonder? I think, yeah, so we can just, I think we can just call that. We can set the winner to null at this point here, so we don't need to set it up here. We can take that out. Put the winner up there, we set the winner to null. And this is an interesting one, because if someone wins, they normally get the next turn. So what we can do is we do winner.hasValue, then we set them as the next term, so they get to go first. I think that's how it works anyways. Played it a lot when I was younger. So we set the next turn there. And now I think what we can do is we can just simply create a new button on here. And this is going to be reset game. For that we need to create an on click. And down here, create a new method. Call it reset, pass in the argument. And then quite simply, we're going to call our instance of game, and we're just going to call the reset game method that we created. If we go back up here, like that, that should work, all being well. That should reset the game for us. Give that a run and see if it's going to work for us or not. Let's open up our web browser. We've got 18 minutes. So what we're testing out here is we want to test out whether the game can actually be resetted or not. Let's hope I can actually get a winner. Hoping there's a winner there, is a game's actually drawn. And the reset game's not working, and that's probably we need to call the state has changed potentially. That might not be the case, but let's have a look anyways. We call in the reset game. Yeah, so we're calling setting the next turn. We're resetting the squares as well, so we need to declare that the state has changed. Give that a refresh. This another go. There we go. O has won the game, the reset game. Well, it is resetting in terms of the fact it's removing the text, but the actual squares aren't resetting. I wonder why that is. That's interesting. Interesting to see what's going on there. Yes, yeah, in theory it should be there in a new one. Oh, that's what we've... Ah, yes, I know what we've done. I know exactly what we've done. This is in the wrong place. We want to be creating the new instance there, because what that's doing is just creating more squares to the list. So if we reinitialize it, up there, then that will actually work. Yes, just what you were saying, Tim X Peachtree. Yeah, the square values need to be reset. That's exactly right. Exactly what I didn't do. So we need to put that as a kernel. Can you do that, or protected? That's the one. Or private. It really depends. Yeah. No. I'm trying to do here. Protected. Can you do that? No, just do set. You can do protected set, can't you? Can't remember off the top of my head. Protected set. Really doesn't matter too much. I've only got 15 minutes. Yeah, there we go. Protected set. So let's give that a go. Give that another go. See if we can try and get a winner. There we go, got a winner. Reset the game. Yes. Yes, we have fixed it. Thanks very much for that, Tim X Peachtree. So now we've got that going, we've got 14 minutes left. What we want to do is we're going to create some sort of scoreboard. And then what we'll do after that, if we've got time, we're just going to sort out some of the CSS issues, particularly with the font size and things like that as well. I would say I'm not the most prolific at CSS, but we'll give it a go, see what happens. But first of all, we're going to do a scoreboard. Now, the best way of doing that is if we just have a tally. O winner. And we can have an X winner as well. There might be a better way of doing this, but I think for now, don't have an awful lot of time left. So what we can do up here is we've declared the winner at this point. So what we can do is if the winner marked as O, then we'll increment the O property by 1. And if the winner is marked as X, then we can do the X winner by 1. So now we're going to keep the scoreboard up here. I think, or should we do it down here? We'll do it down here. So we do the current score, put in a P tag. Call the game. So that's within the null check. The game.x winner. We've got a little scoreboard there so we can keep tally of who's won as many games. I'm going to rerun that again. So yeah, we've got our little scoreboard up there. Does look like we've put it a bit of a rush. It's just not been plotted anywhere. Really need to sort out the CSS on that. But anyways, go ahead. And as you can see, that's now updating our scoreboard as well. If we were to do it again, so yeah, 2-0 now. And then as you can see, every time someone wins, they get to take the next go as well. So let's get X to win. Make sure that they can actually, yes, so you can see X goes first because they won the last game, won this game as well, so it's 2-2 there. So yeah, that's all working for us now, which is good. So the last 10 minutes, what we're going to do, we're going to try and move this to the bottom of the screen, try and sort out some of the CSS. I can't promise it's going to be pretty. As I say, CSS is not really my strongest point, but we'll give it a go anyways. So we got our div game there. We're going to wrap this around a div. Call it footer or something. I'm hoping if we can set that to 100% or something. Or go into our game component. A similar thing like that. Hopefully it won't go alongside it, it will actually go underneath it. Let's give it another run. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. You can go to youtube.com/roundthecode, click on the red subscribe button, or if you're watching this video on YouTube, you can just press the button in the description. Okay, there we go. So we've got that at the bottom now. It still looks a little bit, it doesn't look very pretty at the moment. So go ahead and centralize it. That might work. That might work, that might not work. I think we're going to put this in a P tag as well. Oh, the P tags have gone a bit funny there, haven't they? I'm going to put this in a class as well. I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger, so call it scoreboard. Go back into our razor.css. Going to make it, well, no, we don't want to make it 60 pixels. That's just a little bit too big. Let's make it 30. We're going to increase the actual font size of the actual square as well, because you saw it's a little bit small. The height is 100 pixels, so I think we can put the font size at about 90 pixels as well, so it sort of fills up the whole square. Have a look now and see how that's running. Just to say as well, if you wish to download the code for this, what I will do is I'll put it on my website on the code examples page, so it'll be on roundthecode.com/code-examples. It'll be on there maybe a bit later this afternoon, maybe tomorrow. So there we go, that's a little bit better. We could do with pushing that down a little bit. We'll sort that out in a minute. We'll put some padding on there, or put a margin top on there. Oh, that's still a bit, yeah, because obviously there's a bit of padding there, isn't there, or something like that. Obviously, yeah, that's in a bit of an awkward position as well. We sort of need to move that down. So in the last 7 minutes, let's go ahead and sort all that out. We go back into our game component. I'm going to move this down slightly. We'll put it in here. Remember to use the @ in there. As I said, I wanted to add some padding into the footer, so let's go ahead and do that. Or we can, back now, what we can do is we'll just put a margin top, 30 pixels there. Bring it down a little bit. So we got has won the game there. Let's go back into our square component. So I'm wondering, bring that down to about 70. Let's rerun that again. So yeah, that's loading. Yeah, that's a lot better, isn't it? And actually, it's almost centralized on the actual screen. Here we go. So O has won the game. Reset the score. Current score there. So yeah, very simple game, but very good way to sort of learn Blazor if you're just getting started. The X has won the game. So what happens though? One thing we haven't done is if the game gets drawn. Yes, we didn't think of that. Oh no, we've got to actually we've got to try and actually do it so the game is actually drawn. A while since I've played this. We put an X there, put an O there, put an O, X there, O there. Be a bit careful here. Oh no, no, there's going to be, if I put that there, no, there's a winner, there's a winner. We've only got 4 minutes, we need to get the draw messaging out there. There you go, that's a draw there. As you can see, there's no message in there. So what I think we can do, hopefully we've got time against the clock now. Well, yeah, what we can do actually here is I think we call our game.squares. And then if we do, okay, this is a little bit of a quick way of doing it. It's probably not the best way. But we can say if all 9 of the marks have got a value, we know that the game has been drawn. Good point, actually. If a game is drawn, then every time the next turn is going to be the O, I believe. So if we go back to reset game, 3 minutes left. Yeah, so we're always going for the O, and we don't want that. What we'd do is, let's think what's the best way of doing this. Yeah, or if we do, if next turn equals mark, then we set it to X, otherwise we'll set it to O. Hopefully we'll have time to test this, but if not, you'll be able to test it yourself. Download the actual code example. Okay, so let's reset that. Thanks for that, Tim X Peachtree. Awesome, and looks like that on paper. Thank you very much. Let's see if we can get a drawn game here. Oh no, we've done 3 in a row there. We'll do X there, O there. Now it's O's, no, it's X's turn. Do O up there. That's a drawn game. There we go, we've got the drawn message in there. So yeah, as you can see, because O took the last turn and it's a drawn game, it's now showing as X as the first player. Okay, so that's pretty much there, I think. See, that padding didn't seem to work with the div down there. We've got 1 minute. Let's give it a go. Let's give it one last go. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but we can give it a go. We've got the footer. We can do a padding top maybe. Another go. But if this doesn't work, that will be it. So give that a go. It still hasn't done it, has it? So I think we're going to have to leave that, unfortunately. If you're good with CSS, drop us a message. What's going on there? Why is that not bringing the actual reset game button down? But we're not going to have time. But as you can see, we've got a workable game. Got some message in there as well. Yeah, give it a go. You'll be able to download it at roundthecode.com/code-examples. That's time up. As you can see, we've got a working example there. Thanks very much for watching this. Remember to hit a like if you liked it. Subscribe at youtube.com/roundthecode. Also want to just give a thanks to Tim X Peachtree and Airfix for their live messages as well. If you like it and you want to see another live stream, then go ahead, message us, leave a comment, and take care, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.